Good evening and merry downtown crestline in the San Bernardino Mountains of Southern California's Inland Empire. And I've been wondering about people who feel alone on this Christmas day, whether they're physically alone or surrounded by family but still feeling alone. Well, good evening, Jason. Thanks for popping in. I exchanged gifts with a close friend. I got bath towels and one of my favorite liquid hand soaps, and she got a tea kettle and some packages of beef stew that you just heat up. Jason's all alone. Where's your daughter? Oh, slow Uber day. Not much business. Oh, we did not get any snow. They said we would probably get a light dusting of snow on Christmas Eve, but all I got was wind and a tiny sprinkle of rain. Oh, she's in Maryland with her mother. Her mother wants her now that you've done all the work of raising her. Lovely. Lovely. Well, I'm glad she gets to know her mother. You've done your best for your daughter. Christmas Day. Well, frankly, Jesus was not born on Christmas Day. He was not born in December. Think about it. The shepherds are out in the fields with their flocks of sheep. They wouldn't do that in December. It snows in the Middle East. Even if the sheep could survive it, which is doubtful, the shepherds wouldn't. Able to take her in, it's probably a good thing. April, May, June, July, September, August, September. Excuse me. I haven't even had my eggnog yet, and I don't have any rum to add to it because I made fruit cake. And I soaked the fruit in rum. Well, anyway, yeah, I did not see any family, and that's okay. Hi, Coco. Welcome in. So, Jesus probably was born in September, but we celebrate his birth on Christmas because the pagans would not give up their party for the rebirth of Saturn, who was a sort of a sun god. Apparently, at one time, Saturn must have made more light for the Earth than it does now, maybe closer to the Earth. That would make sense in terms of pagan mythology regarding the gods. Oh, hi, Gypsy. Welcome in. Yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. I've been doing YouTube. Well, anyway, there's all kinds of things about Saturn that don't make sense unless it used to be closer to the Earth and brighter, providing light, the way the moon does now. But anyway, the Saturnalia is really the festival from Christmas to New Year's. Well, I'm glad you're able and willing to take care of your dad. That's a good thing. Not so fun to be off the road, is it? When you're used to it. And it's how you make a living. Well, anyway, it is Merry Christmas, and I was thinking of people who might be alone. And of course, it's a shortening of the Mass for Christ. It used to be when people went to Mass on a Sunday, usually, or on the, for Christmas, it would be on or near the, okay, winter solstice. I'm trying to remember the word for winter. Like spring is vernal. I don't know. Don't remember. But now it's a time of celebration. You decorate a dead tree and worship it. It takes the place of the television with the cable TV. But hey, it's fun. And it's a time for family to get together, or friends, or both. I don't feel alone. I got to exchange gifts with a good friend, and she was thrilled that I gave her a copper tea kettle. I had it for several years and never used it, and I know that she loves copper and she had seen it and admired it. So it was a good gift. I got a brand new set of towels, pointing at the screen instead of the camera again. I'm good at that. Bathroom towels and a gigantic thing of hand soap, lavender scented. So I'm thrilled. I'm very happy. I had made a date nut cake I was going to give to the neighbors, but fortunately, since there was extra batter, I made a couple muffins for myself, and I found that the bag of walnuts that the food bank gave me was rancid, so I had to throw out the cake. Maybe I'll make another one and give it to them by the new year, but without the walnuts, just the dates. My fruit cakes were well received. Ordinarily, you make it with a yeasted cake, but that's too much work, and it comes out, like a hockey puck or a doorstop. So I made a banana bread recipe without the bananas, and I put the fruit in that, and oh my, made two of them, and they were well received. Oh, hi, Boz Bosington. Welcome in. Oh, it's 1 a.m. on Boxing Day. Yeah, that's when the British, it should be Unboxing Day. They open their presents on Boxing Day. Hi, what's next? Welcome in. So I thought I might share the story of the birth of Jesus, even though it was really in September. The Catholic missionaries could not get the pagans to give up their winter festival, so they said, okay, that's when Jesus was born. And the Protestants, in England at least, would simply go to Mass on Christmas Day. Christ, Mass. They'd hear the sermon in Latin, and they'd drink the wine and eat the wafer and stuff like that. Anyway, we celebrate it today, and it's fine. The thing is, the Romans would call for a census. Hi, Etziquentia, welcome in. The Romans would call for a census on a Jewish feast day in the Middle East because, hey, the Jews are coming to Jerusalem anyway. Let's catch them now and get them counted. So it was probably on the Feast of Trumpets, Rosh Hashanah. Wait a minute. Which one is Day of Atonement? Yeah, Yom Kippur. It's like a 3-day festival, something like that. Rosh Hashanah, the trumpets blare. Yom Kippur is penitence because we're all sinners. But anyway, let's look at Luke chapter 2. Oh, I suppose I can put it on the screen. There, here we go. The birth of Jesus Christ. In those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered. Now, specific. This was the first registration when Quinius was governor of Syria. Why Syria? Well, Syria, I gotta turn something off. Okay. Syria was one of the major powers that fought against Israel before the Romans took over. It's right next to Israel. So, and all went to be registered, each to his own town. And Joseph also went up from Galilee, from the town of Nazareth to Judea, to the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was of the house and lineage of David, to be registered with Mary, his betrothed, who was with child. Now get that, they're not married yet. And she's pregnant and about to burst. No wonder there was no room for them at the inn. She was a fallen woman who was horrible. But the Holy Spirit had told Joseph, it's all right, this is of God. So he did go ahead and marry her. But at this point, when Jesus is born, they're betrothed, which is almost married. I think that it lasts for a year, something like that. And while they were there, the time came for her to give birth. And she gave birth to her firstborn son and wrapped him in swaddling cloths and laid him in a manger because there was no place for them in the inn. In other words, it isn't there's no place for you. Aha. Gypsy says Jesus celebrated the lights, which is now Hanukkah, the rededication of the temple. Yeah, in the desecration during the Maccabean result. Do you know why the menorah at Hanukkah has 9 candles? Because of the miracle in which the oil for the lamps lasted 8 days. They had only enough oil for 3 days, but miraculously it lasted for 8 days. The Festival of Lights, that's Hanukkah. Yes. And somehow that just doesn't seem to be in our Bible. It should be in the Old Testament when the Maccabees, under Judas Maccabees, revolted against foreign rulers. Let's see. So there she is, a poor fallen woman giving birth, and she was probably in the house of family, relatives in Bethlehem, but they wouldn't let her stay in the house because she was unclean, because she was pregnant and she wasn't yet married. So they stuck her in the stable with the cows and donkeys and whatever. Okay, and here we go with the shepherds. And in the same region there were shepherds out in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And an angel of the Lord appeared to them. Angel means messenger, by the way. And the glory of the Lord shone around them, and they were filled with great fear. And the angel said to them, "Fear not, for behold, I bring you good news of great joy that will be for all the people." Does it say all the Jews? No, it says all the people. All of us. Okay, where am I? For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is Christ the Lord. Okay, Christ is the Greek interpretation of, darn it, I've forgotten. I think Savior. Of Messiah, yeah. In Hebrew, he's Messiah. And the Greek word is Christos. And Lord is the way Jewish people refer to God, because they don't ever say the name of God if they're strict, strictly religious. And this will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling cloths and lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the earth, peace among those with whom he is pleased." Now, the King James says peace on earth and goodwill toward man, but this is the English Standard Version. The ESV is a more recent translation, and it's been like a really good translation that I can read aloud without getting tongue tied. Even though I love, yes, Adonai et Sequentia, Adonai is Lord. And they don't say God's name, but they do say Yahweh, which is the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton. Well, anyway, when the angels went away from them into heaven, which is the sky, by the way, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go over to Bethlehem and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has made known to us." And they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph the baby lying in a manger. And when they saw it, they made known the saying that had been told them concerning this child. And all who heard it wondered at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured up all these things, pondering them in her heart. And the shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told to them. That's the end of the chapter. Let me see if the next one is the three kings. Okay. Let's see if I can find the three kings. Come on, Google. I don't want the freaking song. Not Google. Bible. IBLE. Here we go. Still in. Come on. Oh. There, here we go. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him. Now, the odds are that Jesus was 2 or 3 years old when these three wise men came, when they arrived. They were astrologers. They saw a configuration of the constellations in the night sky. Oh, thank you, et sequentia. Adon means Lord, and Adonai means my Lord. I did not know that. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for so it is written by the prophet. Is there a freaking footnote? I don't know which prophet. And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are rulers of Judah, for from you shall who will shepherd my people Israel. Probably, well, I don't know which prophet. Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, that I too may come and worship him. Herod's a stinking liar. He wants to kill him. He's a challenger to the throne. Hi, Jan Miller. Welcome in. Merry Christmas. Okay, let's see. After listening to the king, they went on their way, and behold, the star that they had seen when it rose. Wait a minute, where am I? So he's talking to the wise men from the east, the three kings of Orient, they call them in the song. They're wise men, they're astrologers. After listening to the king, they went on their way, and behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with And going into the house, they saw, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then treasures they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. Now, frankincense is made from the bark of the frankincense tree, and myrrh is made from the, can't think of the word, the sap leaks out of the tree and hardens on a myrrh tree. Of the two, myrrh is still very expensive, but they're both more expensive than things like cinnamon. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. Now, when they had departed, the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream and said, "Rise, take the child and his mother, and flee to Egypt, and remain there until I tell you, for Herod is about to search for the child to destroy him." And he rose and took the child and his mother by night and departed to Egypt, and remained there until the death of Herod. This was to fulfill what the Lord had spoken by the prophet, "Out of Egypt I called my son." I'm going to stop there. Hi, Mac Attack. Hi, with OS. Merry Christmas, guys. When was the other time that God called his people out of Egypt? When Moses said, "Let my people go." Now, Moses was being kind of sneaky. Oh, Gypsy says El Shaddai is God Almighty. Yeah. El, Jews will say El, they won't say Yahweh or Jehovah. But I don't think that's God's name either. Whatever. Deborah Wood, welcome in. So Moses was being kind of sneaky. He was telling Pharaoh, "Let my people go to the desert and worship God." He didn't tell Pharaoh that he intended to keep going. Go to the desert, worship God, and keep walking till they had left Egypt was the plan. And here, hi Cheryl, welcome in. Just doing a Christmas special because there are people who feel alone at this time. Oh, Gypsy has it, Yeshua HaMashiach. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, Yeshua is Jesus' real name. It's also Joshua's real name. Yeshua HaMashiach. I think that's actually Messiah. Wow. I'm surprised to see so many people here. I hope you are not alone, or at least not feeling alone. At the very least, there really are spiritual beings, good ones and bad ones. Try to surround yourself with the good ones. So these three astrologers from Persia came to worship the birth of the Jewish Messiah? Um, okay. Kind of tells you that they believe he's actually God. Now, they might have been Zoroastrian, which is Zoroaster, nobody knows for sure when he was born, when he lived, but he talked about the Lord of Light and the Lord of Darkness in battle, and that we are the field of battle and the prize. I'm going to celebrate with a Dunhill red. Still keep pointing it at the screen instead of the camera. I love these English cigarettes. They buy the best Virginia tobacco, turn it into cigarettes, and ship it back to us. The American cigarette makers, for the most part, get the cheap stuff that's left over after the Europeans buy all the good tobacco. One exception I know of is Gauloise, the French cigarette that'll knock you on your butt. They're so harsh and strong. These are mild but full of flavor. The Dunhill Red. They make green ones and black ones, and they're not menthol. They're just different flavors. And I really like the red ones. Wow. I'm also splurging with, from my last trip to the grocery store, vanilla frappuccino. I never go to Starbucks, but once in a while I get a bottle of the vanilla frappuccino. I have a small carton of eggnog, but I haven't opened it yet. I'm going to have to do that. This is the only time of year to get eggnog. Hi, Morgan. Merry Christmas. Once again, originally, it's the Mass for Christ. And you usually say a Mass for someone who's dead, but Christ came back to life. We've turned Christmas into a party. Well, it actually began that way. The pagans would not give up their winter solstice festival celebrating the death and rebirth of Saturn. So the missionary said, okay, that's when Jesus was born. But the converts got to have their parties, but the people who were like already Christian would go to Mass at the church, especially the Protestants in England. You know, the same people who enabled Cromwell to kill the king, Charles I, because Charles was a Catholic. They actually outlawed Christmas in England for a time. The Three Stigmata, Morgan, yeah. The Three Stigmata of Palmer Eldritch, a Philip K. Dick novel. Basically, it's the battle between good and evil, and evil appears to be winning at the end. I think it's Leo Bolero at the end says something to the effect that we aren't doing so bad considering that we're only human. It's also about the dangers of drug abuse, especially hallucinogenics. And Phil insisted that when he wrote that novel, he never had tried LSD. He did eventually try it twice. His friend, Ray Nelson, friend, editor, and co author, the Ganymede Takeover, Ray was connected with the people at UCLA who were conducting scientific experiments with LSD, and he managed to bring some of it to Phil on 2 occasions. And Phil was hoping that it would help Nancy with her, sadly, schizophrenia. Although she was later diagnosed as bipolar, not schizophrenic. I think in some ways psychiatry is a bunch of voodoo. And frankly, the real voodoo works better. Well, anyway, we are not alone. It might seem that way at times, but we are not. Got my Christmas sweater. So, King Herod was so evil and so power hungry that rather than allow an infant to grow up and take the throne, and Herod was just a puppet of the Romans anyway. He ordered all the little babies to be killed, hoping that one of them would be the one he wanted to kill. And the whole time, Jesus was in Egypt with his mother and father. And there's all kinds of stories about how Jesus must have received an education in Egypt, probably from the Egyptian priests who possessed ancient knowledge. But throughout his life, especially when he was still a child, people were amazed at how Jesus could quote scripture from memory. Let's see if I can find something I've been wanting to discuss. My keyboard. Luke chapter 4. Starting on verse 21. Let's see. I want to go back a bit. in the chapter. Come on, you evil thing. Where's the backspace button? Oh, I'm not in the box anymore. Come on, backspace. Luke 4. Here we go. Okay. And Jesus is tempted. He begins his... Well, he's tempted before he begins his ministry. He's in the desert. Satan wants Jesus to worship him. And he came to Nazareth. He's back in Syria where all the people are only half Jewish, so the pure blood Jews don't like them because they're half-breeds. But they're still believers. And he came to Nazareth, where he was born, by the way, where he had been brought up, and as was his custom, he went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, and he stood up to read. And the scroll of Isaiah was, and the scroll of the prophet Isaiah was given to him. He unrolled the scroll and found the place where it was written, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." And he rolled up the scroll and gave it back to the attendant and sat down. And the eyes of all the synagogue were upon him, and he began to say to them, "Today this scripture has been fulfilled in your hearing." And all spoke well of him and marveled at the gracious words that were coming from his mouth. And they asked, "Joseph's son?" And he said to them, "Doubtless you will quote to me this proverb, 'Physician, heal yourself. What we have heard you did at Capernaum, do here in your hometown as well." And he said, "Truly I say to you, no prophet is acceptable in his hometown. But in truth I tell you, there were many widows in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the heavens were shut up 3 years and 6 months, and great famine came over all the land. And Elijah was sent to none of them, but Zarephath in the land of Sidon, to a woman who was a widow," and so on and so forth. He went to a pagan, a non-Jew. Now let's see. Isaiah quoted Jesus ESV. Isaiah 61. Okay, Isaiah chapter 61. Uh-huh. Isaiah 61 ESV. This is something. And then he stops. But Isaiah goes on. So what was fulfilled stops at the opening of the prison. And this has not been fulfilled when Jesus is talking. To proclaim the year of the Lord's favor and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to grant to those who mourn in Zion, to give them a beautiful headdress instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the garment of praise instead of a faint spirit, and so on and so forth. So that has not been fulfilled when Jesus is talking. Well, hi, Lucas and Lunar Sparkles. Welcome in. Wow. I wasn't going to go on so long, but I've got a full house. You guys are wonderful. Oh, Lunar has Seagram's vodka. Yeah. Last time someone offered me vodka, I had brought my own to the party. I had brought the Seagrams. And she says, well, we have vodka. And I said, yeah, it's probably Popov in a plastic bottle. It was. I think Seagram's comes in plastic now too, but it's still better than Popov. Hi, Jason. I love your company too. Well, the Bacardi rum that I used for my fruit cake came in glass bottles. There's something about plastic. I don't trust alcohol that's stored in plastic. I just don't. You know, like that box wine that's inside the box is a big plastic bag full of wine. Ugh. I really suspect that the plastic contaminates the wine. I won't drink it. Nice thing about Dells, yeah, they cost more, but they burn twice as long as American cigarettes. I'm hearing car doors out front. They can't possibly be coming to my house. Let me see if my porch light is on. Yeah, it's on. Okay. Some really evil people got booted out of the house next door. They were squatters, and it's really impossible to get squatters out in California. But the house was condemned, so the sheriffs kicked them out. And every time someone sneaked back in, they kicked them out again. But they left behind their cats, and their cats are not spayed or neutered. Hi, what's next? Welcome in. Oh, Lunar Sparkle saw my post about them. Well, I'm working on getting them a little more tame and catching them and getting them spayed and neutered. Hi, Oswald. Humbug yourself. I don't do the Christmas tree anymore. I put some garlands on a live tree out in my yard. Or sometimes I just decorate the rose bushes. I just, I don't know. It's a special day, but the main thing for me is the food. Ham with pineapple and a glass of eggnog, and yeah, I got a can of cranberry sauce with the whole berries in it. I don't know what it is. When I was a kid, I hated cranberries, but now I like them, especially if I can mix them with oranges. Now I got hiccups. So Oswald put up some cranberry and popcorn strings. The birds got them. Well, that's a good thing. You fed the birds. Oh, and Bosington is drinking red wine at the moment. Took me a minute to figure out ATM. Didn't make any eggnog and difficult to buy in Britain. Well, here in America, I don't trust raw eggs unless I can find the pasteurized eggs. Our chickens are not vaccinated, and a raw egg is too likely to cause food poisoning. So I buy the stuff at the store. But between Thanksgiving and Christmas, you can get eggnog. Some people serve it at their New Year's Eve parties too. Lunar Sparkles cooked turmeric rice for the birds. Humph. Oh, avian flu. Well, I don't know what it is. Um, yeah, there were some flu epidemics when I was growing up, and basically, very old people died from it. They didn't have vaccinations for the flu, and children just kept on going to school. Even when young people got the flu, they were they might be sick enough to miss a day or two of school, but it wasn't considered that serious. Getting the last couple drops of the bottled coffee. Avian flu might be disease X, the next pandemic. They didn't scare us with monkeypox. At least they didn't scare us enough. So now it's flu. There are vaccines for it, but I tend to have very bad reactions to vaccines. Lunar Sparkle says she does. I'm assuming that means eats garlic, honey, lemon, and cayenne. That's an interesting combination. Cayenne is really to me, a hot pepper, and I don't tolerate hot peppers very well. I don't know. I had COVID twice and I wasn't very ill. I had to isolate so other people would not catch it, but I just used a lot of Kleenex. In fact, I was using paper napkins because Kleenex just wasn't good enough. And now I don't buy Kleenex anymore. I just get cheap paper napkins. Well, that's interesting. What's next? A couple people told him or her they got a flu shot and had the flu. Go figure. Well, when I was, I think 3 years old, 3 or 4, let's see, probably 4, 1958, I had a flu that nearly killed me. It had become intestinal. It was still in my lungs, but it was also in my guts. And I could not keep down anything, even a spoonful of water would come back up. And the first thing that stayed down for me was Pepto-Bismol. So ever since then, I have loved Pepto-Bismol. But it can cause problems. I used to use it a lot, and until I learned that it was causing some of the problems I had. So I do still keep it around. If my tummy's upset, I'll take a swig of it. But I usually take Alka Seltzer, which is almost aspirin. So it'll take care of a fever and a cold, especially if you add a little lemon juice to it while the um, tablets are making the water all sparkly. Of course, aspirin can have some bad side effects, but I don't often need anything of that sort. Oh well, how do we get on this? Oh, rumor of avian flu. Yeah, it's hasn't been that long since the government went around killing everybody's backyard chickens because of some chicken disease. I guess they're going to do it again. I would love to keep a couple chickens for good fresh eggs, but I'll need a very sturdy chicken coop because uh, raccoons eat chickens. We do have a bear and a mountain lion that come around rarely. The raccoons and squirrels and rattlesnakes, various kinds of snakes, especially rattlesnakes, are all around, and even possums. Now, possums will eat chicken eggs, I don't think they would kill chickens, but raccoons certainly will. Yep, Lunar Sparkle's got to keep everyone fed. I'm not really in the forest. I'm in town, but we still have quite a few trees even in town. Aw, raccoons, yeah. Well, the bear did crush one section of my fence one winter when the snow piled up real high and the bear tried to climb over it only to discover that my rose bush had tons of thorns. So the steel bar that holds the top of the fence is bent and just won't fit anymore. But usually I don't see the bear. He's too lazy to climb a fence. I did see the lion once killing a raccoon. Do not run from a lion, a mountain lion. Do not run. They have an instinct to chase. It was dark, even with the porch light on, the driveway light, the floodlight. It was dark where the lion was. I just froze where I stood and yelled, "Hey, hey, hey," until the lion went away. I guess it was happy with a raccoon, didn't need a human. But I quit going out after dark. She, apparently, it takes that lion a full month to go around her entire territory. His or her, I'm not sure whether it's a male or a female. The bear lives in the creek which runs up to my street and then goes underground. It goes out to the lake, about a mile of creek bed. And the bear probably spends most of his time in the uh, catch basin, a little pool of water that also catches most of the runoff that brings uh, debris down the hill. We want to keep the debris out of the lake. Etsy Quintia says there's a meme of a bear sitting at a picnic table, and the caption reads, "I was told there will be potato salad." Darn, I didn't think of that. I used my potato to make mashed potatoes. Oh well. I still need to make the jam that I was going to give people for Christmas. I just haven't been up to standing at the stove for 10 minutes or more, cooking the fruit and other ingredients. I keep hurting my back. I think I could do it now. I'll have to scrub the pots. One pot to sterilize the jars, and another pot to cook the jam. Oh well. I'll get it done after New Year's. I mean, I'll give it away after New Year's. It's going to be a strange year. We seem to be on the verge of war all over the world, and in some places the war is going on. They say that Iran is like this close. Oh, the camera's over there. To having a nuclear weapon. I gotta see which cat is at the door. Ah, must have been the wind. In the past, Israel has stopped the production of atomic bombs in Iran by hacking their computers. We'll see what happens this time. Sweetie and Tora, kitties. Kitties need treats. Sweetie almost never comes near me because she thinks I'm a cat murderer. But the desire for kitty treats overcame her shyness. Yeah, it's been pretty weird ever since, before I was born. Everyday life seemed pretty normal under Eisenhower in the 1950s. But then there were those McCarthy hearings on communism. He started out pretty well, but then he was deliberately fed false information that made him look like a nut, and he should not have believed it. I mean, who cares if some movie actor has joined the Communist Party? Really? Who cares? And yet he destroyed people's careers. And then Kennedy ushered in, starting in 1960, ushered in an era of hope and looking to the future. So they killed him. He wanted to end the war in Vietnam and bring our troops home. He wanted to send a man to the moon and declassify all kinds of secrets that we really ought to know, like Roswell and such. Yeah, parts of the U.S. federal government were already investigating actual Russian spies. And McCarthy kind of stepped on their toes. And if they had common sense, they would have told McCarthy, look, we're on it. We know these things. Don't blow it for us. But no, they couldn't possibly do that. I mean, it was classified. I forget whether McCarthy was a senator or a representative. By the way, they're all congressmen. The senators and the representatives are all in Congress, which is made up of the House and the Senate. So there. One of the ways that people with nefarious motives gain control of a population is to ruin their language so people can't understand what they're talking about. Well, I don't know if voting on a local level definitely makes a difference. Choosing your school board, your mayor, your council people, your county board of supervisors, that's important. I don't know why people are freaking out over Trump. I don't expect much change in our daily lives. The price of gasoline might get lower if he follows through with drill baby drill. Now, I'm all for the environment, clean air, clean water, good soil, good farming practices, but that's not what we're getting. We're getting factory farms and the solar panels and the windmills for electricity are actually harmful to the environment in many ways. For one thing, when they quit working, they are not recyclable. They're permanent trash, permanent garbage, and toxic chemicals. And they actually do kill wild animals. Especially birds and whales. And those factory farms just spray all kinds of chemicals on the crops. But the rules, regulations, etc., and taxes are destroying family farms. One of the worst is what they call the death tax. When the children inherit the family farm, they're hit with huge income taxes and can't afford to keep the farm. So some corporation buys it up and sprays chemicals all over it. And most of the work is done by machines. And what they can't do with machines, they hire the cheapest labor they can find. Oh, I'm sorry, Lunar. You lost your family farms? Well, the solution, first of all, is inheritance tax is wrong. Someone has already paid all the taxes on what you inherit. It's a double whammy. And I think property tax is a real problem. It is for me. I can't afford the property taxes on my home. I'm in debt. Oh, the state of California will defer your taxes, but if I die or sell the house or refinance, they get the money. I think I owe them $10,000 now. I suppose I could try winning the lottery. Probably just throw money down the drain buying lottery tickets. Here I am, 70 years old, on Social Security. Whoopee. And these politicians have the nerve to call it an entitlement. Well, excuse me, but they took money from every paycheck I ever got at a time when I was barely squeaking by. I'll never forget the 2 years I lived in my car while working two jobs. And there was Social Security tax and Medicare tax taken out of every check. And Hi Tracy, welcome in. Social Security would not be bankrupt if the government hadn't invested all of the funds in government bonds. Private retirement funds will buy some government bonds, but they also invest in things like stocks and other things that are more profitable. Government bonds pay very low interest. At best, you break even with government bonds and don't lose any money. And every penny of Social Security has been put into government bonds. That's why it's going bankrupt. Lunar says my debt will be forgiven. I doubt it. But I suspect that California will go bankrupt. And then they'll want even more money in taxes. For what? I can't afford to leave. If I sold my house, I would not get enough to find a place to live anywhere. And who knows, I might live to be 90 years old and I don't want to live homeless in my old age. I don't even have a car. I can afford either a car or a house, so I'm keeping the house. Got this house 20 years ago, so it isn't super expensive, but oh, the value has gone up. We need more property taxes. And then the cost of water, electricity, gas, sewer, and trash pickup have all doubled at least over 20 years. There's actually a bill for sewer service. It isn't based on how much you use it, it's just $100 a month. For a sewer, there's something wrong with that. Oh, God. Yeah, Oswald, you're probably right. Gruesome Newscomb will run for president and Kamala will run for governor. Yeah, service fee. What service? Once every 2 years, they come out and pressure wash the sewer line. And for that, it's $100 a month. I, oh, yeah. During COVID, there was free internet and phone, but the grant ran out, huh? Yeah. They claim I can get a free phone because I'm on Medicaid. You know, the state, California calls it Medi-Cal, uh, which all it does is take care of any co-pays I have with Social Security. But the free phone is on a service that doesn't work up here on the mountain. It would be useless to me. Let me check the battery on my modem while I'm thinking. It's okay. Not spectacular, but okay. Dear, I've been on for an hour and 23. I was just going to do a quickie. Oh well. Forest fires, I've been through some big ones. What's next? In '03, we had the old fire, and I did evacuate. Turned out I didn't really need to. My house was never in danger. Um, and in '08, there was a big fire, but it was higher on the mountain near Lake Arrowhead. And I did not evacuate for that one, and it turned out well because I was able to chase off a criminal who was breaking into the house across the street where they had evacuated. I heard this crash and splintering glass and went to the front door and just yelled at him to leave. And at first he hesitated and then he left, and I called the sheriff, which meant that when the sheriffs arrived, I had to show my ID because of the evacuation order. And the deal was as long as you don't have any outstanding warrants, they'll leave you alone. Well, I never had any outstanding warrants. Yeah, so the guy had a broken window, but nothing was stolen because we chased. While I was doing that, the guy next door, who also did not evacuate, came out, and we both talked to the sheriffs. Imagine that. People who are in the middle of a disaster and some jerk tries to break into their house and steal stuff. And then recently, we had I think they called it the line fire, but it was one threatening communities higher on the mountain, and we got an evacuation warning. Like if you have special needs or transportation problems, you should evacuate now. And if you don't have a car, we'll give you a ride on the bus and stuff like that. But it was not an order. But it went on for quite some time. It did burn one house in Running Springs, which is considerably higher on the mountain than my community. And it was just the one house that was right on the rim. But it was totally destroyed. And the family has been receiving help of all sorts from ordinary people as well as stinking FEMA. FEMA is useless. I need a very minor repair to my house from the damage of Snowmageddon. Very minor. And their solution is to provide me with alternative housing. Good to know you're still here, Jason. I don't need alternative housing. If I did need to leave my home, I have friends and neighbors who will take me in. I don't need to go to some cheap motel miles away. God knows they'll try to make it permanent or put me in an old folks' home because I'm 70 years old. No, thank you. For one thing, I couldn't take my cats. And there's at least one cat that would have to go with me. Tora. The others are strays and ferals. Oh, Gypsy got pulled away and came back. Well, welcome back. I'm like, tired. It's only 6:30, but it gets dark real early now. So I'll just get some handyman. We have lots of those on the mountain to cut a piece of plywood and stick it on the 2 square feet where the siding is gone. It's from the dirt up to the actual floor of the house. My house is on a foundation. It's, I think, 18 inches off the ground, between 12 and 18 inches. So I'll get some guy to cut a piece of plywood and stick it on the house. And over that is a metal sheet that goes around the whole house to prevent water damage when it snows. So I don't even have to paint it. Just screw down the metal over the plywood and it's done. Alternative housing. Yeah, right. Aw, Gypsy. Sleep well, pleasant dreams. I'm winding down as it is. But it's good to see all of you on this Christmas evening. Not Christmas Eve, Christmas Day evening. Oh, Jan Miller, termites, yeah. Up here we have carpenter ants. Termites cannot live through the cold winters, but these gigantic black carpenter ants will eat your house. Sweet dreams, Oswald, and Merry Christmas, and keep the faith. I'll sign off now. Let's see. Whoops. I learned to say it in, I think, Swahili. Keep the faith is Dumisha Imani. And look forward to the new year. Knock on wood, it can't get worse. It's got to get better, and we can make it better just by sticking together and being good friends. Hi, Tracy. Bye, Tracy. Good night, all. God bless you. How did Tiny Tim say that? God bless us, everyone. Buzz. Good seeing all of you. I wonder what Freeman is doing. Haven't seen him in a while. Oh well. See ya. Oh, I'll see you in the morning, assuming I don't oversleep. Bye.